Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Jumpstart. I am Jason Meyer, and today we're going to do some mixing. So this is just 30 minutes of an artist exercise. This means just like a morning little jog or a morning walk, a little weight training at this gym to keep us in good artistic shape. But these are going right along with our lessons in our class. So quickly, I would like to, before we get started, review what we covered yesterday and what we're going to be doing. But first, let's check in, see who's here and what's happening. Good morning, Miss Shakti. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope you are well. And Miss Claudia, good morning, great people. Couldn't have said it better myself. Excellent. So, pardon me. I wanted to say a quick something a little. I got just a fantastic letter yesterday from a longtime student who was studying with me before we went into our lockdown or whatever we want to call it, and followed us through the pandemic all online, and it was just fantastic. So Miss Sue Nash, we love you so much, and she's going to be taking a break because she's going to spend the next 6 months visiting all of her children and grandchildren and applying everything she's learned to some of her own art. So wish you well, and I can't wait to see you again. You've been nothing but a pure joy, nothing but pure joy. So very honored to have spent so much time with you, and can't wait to see what you do with everything you've learned. All right, so how about a quick review of what we're up to and what we talked about yesterday. So we're just going to today mix the big pieces for our Moonscape here. And by the big pieces, we meant a value, our darkest value, what we call our foundational value, dark, and that's going to be our quote unquote orange. We're going to have a green tree in here too, but for right now it's just this. The ocean is a little bit of a lighter value, what we call our in-between value, and that's going to be lighter than and green, lighter than our foreground, and a green color as we talked about. Then for our next value, what typically we call our achievement is going to be our sky. And that's going to be, again, quote unquote purple. Finally, our lightest value, what we call the pinnacle, is going to be orange. Some of what we talked about yesterday was that when I say the words orange, green, and purple, I'm not meaning a particular color, but I'm meaning let's go in that direction. So out of all these colors up here, these will be the most orange. The tree in this will be green, along with some background I didn't get here. Along with the sand here will be orange. And then quote unquote purple will be our sky. Okay, one of the other things we talked about that in landscapes, we've got to, we started with making our darks dark. I even started you guys having just black, just so that we could get the division between the values. But once you're able to keep that division between your values, you learn really quickly that that value range is a little harsh. So what we've got to do is we've got to bring those values in closer together. So if we compare this to the demo we did Friday, look how much lighter that dark is than this dark. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's just got to come up. And not only that, but these lights are reading lighter than that. Okay, so you see this is a much more compressed value scale than this one. All right, well that's 5 minutes, so we're down to 25 minutes. Should we get mixing? And what are we gonna mix? We're gonna mix a dark, quote unquote, orange. We're gonna mix a in-between green. We're gonna mix a achievement purple and a pinnacle orange. So our lightest value will be orange. Our second value down below that is going to be purple, quote unquote. Our number 3, our third value, our in between is going to be quote unquote green, or head in the green direction. And then our foreground will be orange. So let's go, huh? Let's go, let's go. So one of the things I wanted to mention is doing these exercises by having your paint out a couple days in a row and seeing what's still usable and what's dried up. You're really learning about your paint, right? And that's the kind of learning that really no amount of talking or teaching can show you. You have to experience it and learn that yourself. Before I started, I went into all my piles yesterday and saw how they were. Some of them's quite stiff. I'm gonna be able to loosen it up a little bit. But again, it's an intimacy you get with your materials, and that's part of what's needed here. Because although we can talk about this quote unquote intellectually, ultimately we've got to feel into these colors. All right. Yes, Miss Sue. Miss Sue. For sure, I concur. All right, should we start with our number 4? Our dark number 4? We'll review this. Again, I'm going to go quickly through this, but these colors are in the school under this week's week number 4, and you can get the palette right there. But we're using our ultramarine blue for our quote-unquote purple, that area. Permanent green light for our green. I've got a cad yellow deep. You might have or probably have a cad orange. It's all just fine. Yellow ochre, burnt umber. So we've got 3 warms, 1 green, 1 quote-unquote purple. If we really want this more purple, we're going to have to use the orange to pull it over. Why orange instead of red? We don't really have red. This is the closest thing to red we have, and so it's a relational thing. Purple, green, orange, and our neutrals, white and black. So, for our dark orange, I'm going to start just right now with the burnt umber. That's going to end up being too dark. We're going to bring that up a little bit. But remember, we can't really judge any of these until we have all 4 of them out here. So let's just start on that end right there. And then our other end of the values, what do we have? Well, that was also orange, wasn't it? White is a very, very sticky today. So we'll just make that a little more friendly. Friendlier to the other pigments. Okay, not very much. Not going to take very much at all. To get that over there. Alright, so we got our dark. We got our dark, We got our light. So then what about our sky? Well, let's just make it a darker value than that. And we said it's going to be purple. Remember to set your pile next to the paint and then mix into it. That's going to give you much more control over your paint. Okay, so for right now, let's just leave that there. Again, so much of the way I work is so that you don't get lost, right? We're solving the problems all together so that we're in harmony. We're in harmony. Hey, Mr. Tom. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And Miss Susan's here too. Wow, seems like there's a lot of Misters and Misses today, huh? Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing, I think. Let's see. So we've got our highest value, our pinnacle, our achievement, our foundation. What's left? In between. And what was the in between? Well, the in between was green. But it's got to fit in between, so how are we going to darken that? Well, we could darken it with blue, or we could darken it with black. Since we don't necessarily want this to be an area of focus, right? Your eye in the composition is going to skip over this. I'm going to use black, because that'll make it less colorful. The blue would make it more colorful as far as the ending result once it's mixed. Okay, so again, what do we do first when we mix color? Value. Value first, value first, value first. Okay, so do we have our 4 values? Is that our darkest? And then that's next. This one's lighter than here and darker than here. Okay, so this one's lighter than that and darker than that. And then this one's the lightest of them all. So 4 distinct values. But a good painting this does not make, right? This is simply the first step. One of the things we talked about is that the distance between our light and our dark needs to be compressed. So why don't we just start right there? And a little key I'm just going to sneak in here is, well, let's do one thing at a time. Let's just get this darker. Just bring the value down, not to dark, darker, right? What we're trying to do is close the gap a little bit between those. Not slamming the door shut, just pulling the doors to a bit. Alright, looks like that's still showing up pretty light on camera. But that's getting to be a nice nicer, richer value. All right, you guys having a hard time seeing how that's darker than it was? When I put that white down, can you start to see? Oh yeah, it did darken off. It did darken off. Okay. You guys able to hang with us? Oops, we forgot to start the timer. That's all right. I've got my eye. So 8:15. 8:15. So we've darkened our light here. That white is just for comparison. And why don't we do the same thing down here and just put a little black down here, not as one of our values, but just our comparison. So we're going to lighten this, darken our light and lighten our dark. So we wanted that to be orange. Right? So why don't we keep that over there, and we do want that silhouetted a bit as well. So we don't want it super bright, so I can kind of combine those, or I could even just use my yellow ochre if I wanted. And that's feeling a lot better to me. That's feeling a lot better to me. So I think we're going to need a bit more of that. That was just pure burnt umber, so we can get that back. Okay, that's okay, but I still feel like I could come up a little bit more. I feel like I could just come up a little bit more. Okay, this is feeling a bit better to me. Right, because unless you're under a dark canopy of trees on a moonless night, it's not pitch black out there, even at nighttime. All right, so we managed to bring those a little bit closer. Can you see the distance between here got better? We were right here. It doesn't seem like much, but these little movements make a huge difference. They make a huge difference. Okay, so it looks like we've still got all of these lined up in order. We've closed the gap a little bit. Now let's talk about chroma, meaning how bright or how gray the color is. How does that chroma feel to you? Right? Remember, this is going to be the ocean. And in the ocean, in this scenario, we want you to kind of just glance over that. We don't want you to even pause at it. There's going to be a little bit of a white water on the shore that we see. But the water of the ocean, we don't really want to see. We're going to see a little twinkle on top of the water. But the water itself, we want it to be quote unquote invisible or vague. We want our moon and our electric lights to be visible, right? And also, that sky needs to be the lightest thing. And then the silhouette of the tree, along with the the lights and the little white water at the edge of the ocean, that's what we're going to see. So it's important to know your concept before you start this, because your concept is going to be what is visible and what's invisible. Or in other words, where you want the eye to go and where you want the eye to release. This is a release. So to release a color, a value, what do we have to do? Well, we're going to gray it down. Well, we have green here. What are the different ways we could gray it down? Now, do I like the value? I like that distance okay. Value-wise, color-wise, it's too far apart. So let's try to stick this value about the same. And let's see, what's the grayest green I could actually mix up? But what if I took yellow, ochre, and black? Next to that other one, it doesn't even appear green. But it is. It's just as green because green is a hue, not a chroma. Okay, so in other words, this is just as green as that is. This is a higher chroma green, and this is a lighter chroma green, but this is not less green than that. Green is a hue, and those are equal in hue. Now, this looks too dark and too dull. That looks basically too bright. So, that quieted it down. And now something else, we've got to be good neighbors, don't we? So let's just take some cookies over to them. Let's take some cookies over. And I wanted this a tad bit lighter. Maybe that'll do it. Let's see. And what this is going to do, it's going to start bringing this color into harmony with both of those. So notice I didn't put so much in there that it took its identity away, but it no longer is kind of a pain in the side of those. And why don't we go ahead and do that same idea? So just a little bit of that neighbor. Let's take some cookies to this neighbor. Take some cookies. Oh, starting to feel a little bit better, huh? Now, that's kind of, a diva, huh? Come on, we're a traveling tribe here. We don't have enough roadies and stuff for a diva. Let's just all be in this together. Let's just all be in this together. Again, extremely small quantities. The measure is so important here. But a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. So for the amateur, for the beginner, for the lay person, we're making these colors more muddy. But for the artist, what we're doing is we're bringing them into harmony. So not that the individual color is as bright and beautiful as it can be, but that the painting as a whole is as beautiful as it can be. Right? And what's the most beautiful family you've ever seen? Are they having fist fights at breakfast and knife fights at dinner? No. They're getting along. It doesn't mean there's no conflict. There's not some light, there's not some dark, but you got to be able to move through the same house without worrying about getting murdered. Right? And so when you start feeling into color, you're going to notice that as these things come more together, right? They still have their own identity, but as they come more together, they get more and more beautiful. Now I know the camera's probably, well, I can barely see that difference. But again, I just, brought those four pieces more into harmony again. No, you don't see it? Well, let's see, where are we at? What if we had a foreground? And then what if there was an ocean? And a sky? And a moon. So it's unreasonable, if you've never done this, to try to think you can do this in 30 minutes. But again, we went out for a jog. We had a good exercise. If you got some extra time, got an extra 30 minutes, play with this. Do a little thumbnail sketch on your palette. Test those colors out. Okay, so I think we'll leave it right there for today. I know it was a little bit fast, but the morning jump starts, that's how it goes. Beginning in August, stuff's going to be inside our 3-month course, and part of our 3-month course, when it will go slower. You'll have it recorded. You can replay it. You can stop it, work along. We'll have your printouts, your PDFs for you, and all of that. But in the meantime, we still need to get up, go for our walk, go for our jog, do our push-ups, do our sit-ups, so that when we're ready to paint, we're in good painting shape. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for a wonderful morning. See, you guys are all busy mixing. I love it, I love it, I love it. So we'd love it if you guys take little snapshots. If you do this, especially if you have got your 4 piles, do a little thumbnail. Let's see what you got. In the meantime, we'll be back tomorrow morning for more mixing. Tonight, wait, what is tonight? Tonight's Tuesday. We have Sketch Club tonight on Facebook, and we're going to continue those sunflowers we started on Sunday. Miss Janny, yes, replay, short 30 minutes, and that's one of the reasons we kept it so short. So if anybody missed it, they could go back and still do it if they wanted to. All right, I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Love all you guys, and we'll talk to you tonight. Bye, everybody.